Now, when you come in here, you're at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. We only take in E's, but we don't take in every E. You're the old cheese, are you? You're the old cheese? Okay, you're the old cheese. This is your son? Old cheese, Kraft, Swift, cheddar. If you're lucky, you'll have your Margaret River smoked cheese wrapped in black plastic. So I can explain these 5. This little fella here, this fella here, he's like, I'll picture it as me. Now, I don't come from a faith background, but when I was 6 or 7, Mum and Dad, all they did was ever drink alcohol. All they did was ever argue. I remember they went out once, and they had a 15-year-old babysitter from 2 doors up come and stay at our house for the night, babysitting us. And they went out. I was about 5. And I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I could hear Mum and Dad arguing. The babysitter, she was 15. She stayed at our house while Mum went out. When they come back, it was about midnight. And I woke up and all I could hear them arguing. And I walked out of my bedroom and I seen Dad flying down the stairs with Mum coming after him with something. It turned out Dad slept with the babysitter. And so Mum threw a pot at the back of his head. And I remember Mum throwing the pot at his head. Now, as a little kid at 6 or 7, I really loved my dad. I was close to him. He was a mechanic, like the young kids. And but that was the day that he moved out. And I remember something from my head to my heart. I blamed my mum because she drove him out. He moved into the Eden Hill motel. And on the way to school, grade 1, grade 2-ish, I'd pull in the motel and say, Dad, do you want anything from the shops? And he'd give me $10 and say, give me a packet of fags, a loaf of bread, keep the change. And for a little kid, you think that's pretty special. And I'd done that for a few days. And then the best memory I ever got of my dad was laying back on Anzac Day. I'm laying in his motel unit with my head on his chest and I could smell his BO. You know, your dad's smell? You smell your dad puts off his... And a few days later, I knocked on the door, no answer on the door. And I remember getting on my push bike. He danced all the other times. Get on my push bike. I can't remember who was with me, but the gardener in the car park, I said, have you seen my dad? He says, oh, Dad doesn't live anymore. He's gone up north. And for me, it's like a bombshell hit me. I got on my push bike and I rode flat out at home and said, Mum, Dad's taken off. And that was the last time I seen my dad. I felt like he abandoned me. Mum drove him out. He abandoned me. But from that point there, I can't remember anything before that, but I remember everything after that. Mum started drinking lots of different boyfriends. We had the repossession people pull in the house. They took away the stereo. They took away the lounge. They took a car. Our quality of life started going down, all these different blokes. And then from the age of 7 onwards, for the rest of my life, I moved every 3 months. For the next few years, Mum kept getting all these different boyfriends. One of them in particular used to grab her by the hair and literally KO into her face. We'd walk out in the lounge room and have to grab the brothers and sisters, hide under the bed, run up the street. And one morning I walked out in the lounge, at midnight, walked out in the lounge room. Mum was sitting on the end of the bed and she was sitting there snivelling. I'd come out after all the arguing had stopped and she was sitting there snivelling like this, shaking, and she had a super glue in her hand and she had her false teeth and she was gluing her teeth back there. They looked up, 2 big black eyes, blood running down her face, couldn't even recognise her. And I was full of fear, I was full of anger. I couldn't understand why it is that I'm facing all these circumstances that I didn't create. And as a little kid, I didn't have my dad to protect me. And my mum, it didn't seem like she loved me. And so she went into a drug and alcohol rehab. All of us kids got split up. Gavin and Graham went to, and my sister Sheree went to my grandparents. And my older sister Judy went with a best friend. There wasn't enough room at Granny's for myself. And so I tried to stay with Mum, being the oldest boy. And they put her in a Serenity Lodge, which is another rehab down Whoop Whoop. But there wasn't a kids program there, so I had to go with foster families through the DCP. And I stayed with these foster families. Again, all I wanted was my mum and my dad. I didn't want to be with strangers. And Mum ended up getting out of the rehab, going back to the same bloke that beat the living crap out of her. By this time I was 8. We stayed at the Godswills Caravan Park Village. I met a young kid at the caravan park. We became mates. And I said to my mum, can we stay at his house and his caravan the night? She said, yeah. So I stayed over there and I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and this bloke was giving me oral sex. I'm laying there as an 8-year-old kid while this man sucked me off. And I was petrified. I had to pretend I was asleep while that man done his stuff to me. And then I got up out of the caravan in the morning and I heard this voice that said, tell your mum. And then I heard this other voice, no, she doesn't love you. She doesn't love you. She loves the alcohol and she loves men more than she loves you. My brain thought about it and I thought, yeah, well, if Mum loved me, she would have drove Dad away. Dad wouldn't have taken off up north. I wouldn't have had to go to all these foster families. I wouldn't have got sexually abused. And I remember, she doesn't love me anymore, so I didn't tell her. But that was the day that I took away the right for my mum or my dad or anyone to speak in my life. No longer will I listen to what any adult has to say. I'm going to look after me from now on.